and my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, Imhotep. So today is Thursday, July 22nd, 2021. Representative Hank Johnson of Georgia, member of the Congressional Black Caucus, was arrested today at a protest at the Hart Senate building in Washington, D.C., the same building where African-American female voting rights activists were arrested last week. So it's Representative Hank Johnson and also Rashad Robinson of Color of Change, Cliff Albright of Black Voters Matter, as the fight continues to break the filibuster and get the For the People Act passed and signed into law, passed in the Senate and signed into law. And then also they're pushing for the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. We're going to talk about this development here. And the question that keeps coming up, and I'll be back on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday. We discussed it. We discussed this last Friday. And I'm going to bring this point up again. And Roland has talked about this also. But there are other groups that are that will be negatively impacted by these voter restriction bills. And these other groups have largely remained silent. So we're going to talk about this and then also give you an update on what's going on in Haiti. We know that on Tuesday, Haiti installed its new prime minister, Ariel Henry, after the assassination of President Jovenel Moise on July 7th. So we'll give you an update on also what's going on there in Haiti as well. And then last Friday, when I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, July 16th, one of our guests was Dr. Cornel West. And Dr. Cornel West talked about resigning from Harvard University and blasting Harvard for not being given tenure. Okay, not receiving tenure as a professor. So I got a chance to ask him a question because Roland went to his panel. I got a chance to ask him a question, and I asked him about the dispute between he and Dr. John Henrik Clarke and Dr. Joseph Ben Yakinen and the criticisms that Dr. Henry Louis skipped the truth gates. And that's what one of my teachers, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, calls gates. Dr. Henry Louis skipped the truth gates. But criticisms that Dr. Henry Louis Gates Jr. and Dr. Cornel West had of the African Senate scholars in the late 80s, early 1990s, like Dr. John Henrik Clarke and Dr. Joseph Ben Yakinen. So I'm going to share with you that dialogue because his response was very important. And he shed some information on that. He shed some light on that information and situation that I did not know. Okay. So he gave me more of his perspective. He spoke for himself. He couldn't speak for Gates and Dr. Jeffries has told me about Gates also. So, I think maybe you've heard that some in the past when I've interviewed Dr. Leonard Jeffries. So we'll discuss that as well. All right. Now, on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We deal with current events and history and politics, education, economic empowerment, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, Kemet, to 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, Kemet, to 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. or visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. I want to remind you that my new online course starts up on Saturday. Starts up on Saturday, July 24th, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. This is from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. Okay. And this is a 10-week online course that I'm teaching. Each class will analyze a 10-year period of history. And we're looking at when the Civil War ends, 1865, 13th Amendment, Juneteenth, Reconstruction era, 1865 to 1877. We'll go through the Jim Crow era, Plessy versus Ferguson, 1896. We'll go to the beginning of the 1900s and World War I and Great Migration. But visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Scroll down the page, and you'll see the information for this exciting new online course I'm teaching. It meets on Saturdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do the classes live. All the sessions are recorded. You can go back and watch it over and over again. It's a 10-week online course from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. You click on register here, and it'll take you to the next page, and you can register for this online course. Click on enroll. And as soon as you register, there's archive content you can start watching, and then you'll be ready for class this Saturday, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. OK, you can watch from around the world, and it's going to be a fantastic class. And we're going to see what happened after slavery ended and how we got to where we are today. All right. So we'll post a link here. You can register for that online course. The course is regularly $130. It's on sale $80. All right. I want to jump into this first story here, dealing with Representative Hank Johnson. So we know that pressure is increasing on the Democrats in the Senate, as well as Joe Biden, to do something about the filibuster, whether it's a carve out, whether you get rid of it altogether. And pressure is on Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia, as well as Kristen Sinema of Arizona. So CNN.com, as well as New York Times, has reporting on what took place today. And I'm going to, we have the article here from New York Times up. I'm going to go to the reporting also from CNN. Now, you know, I've been talking about how silent many of these corporations have been on this new round of voter restriction bills that have been passed also. So pressure has to also increase on these on the corporations also. But Representative Hank Johnson, Democrat of Georgia, was among a group of protesters on the Capitol Hill complex on Thursday while demonstrating for voting rights and against the filibuster in the U.S. Senate. Now, the arrest came 1 week after chairwoman of the Congressional Black Caucus was arrested. Joyce Beatty, Representative Joyce Beatty, Democrat of Ohio, was arrested by U.S. Capitol Police also while demonstrating for voting rights. And, you know, we've talked about that here on this show as well. You can go back and listen to the shows from last week, Thursday and Friday. I think that was the 15th and 16th. So good reporting from Politico.com. Black Caucus chair arrested during protests in Capitol Complex. This is Representative Joyce Beatty. And there's good reporting there. And also from April Ryan for thegrio.com, dealing with the meeting that Vice President Kamala Harris had Friday, July 16th with the African-American female activists. Now, one of the questions, and Roland talked about this today on Roland Martin Unfiltered, is the White House going to have a meeting with these brothers who were arrested? These are activists also, very, very important brothers. The White House should meet with them as well, and we have to hit them from all different sides. Okay. And this is one of the things I'm going to talk about tomorrow, because a lot of these people a lot of these groups, what have you, claiming to be allies, many of them have laryngitis and some of them have amnesia also. Now, the arrest came 1 week after the chairwoman of the Congressional Black Caucus, Joyce Beatty, was arrested by U.S. Capitol Police, also while demonstrating for voting rights. Now, Representative Hank Johnson on his Twitter page said, "I was arrested today for protesting against Senate inaction on voting rights legislation and filibuster reform." On voting rights legislation and filibuster reform. He said, quote, "In the spirit of my dear friend and mentor, the late Congressman John Lewis, I was getting in #good trouble." Now, speaking of good trouble, Kristen Sinema of Arizona got herself in some hot trouble by tweeting about John Lewis on the first year anniversary of his death, while she is standing in the way of passing the For the People Act. Okay, because she won't budge on the filibuster. So she got her ass lit up, rightfully so. And then there was a poll that came out in Arizona that showed 66% of Democrats who registered to vote would support a primary against her in 2024 when she's up for re-election. Rightfully so. She needs to be voted out of office. Okay. If we look at I want to go to the reporting also here from CNN. If we look at the piece here from CNN, and we're coming up here on a break, we'll go to CNN on the other side of the break because I want to pull up his Twitter account. Representative Hank Johnson on Twitter. Okay, we'll go to that on the other side of the break. Let's continue here. So, in a video posted on Representative Hank Johnson's Twitter account, he could be seen continuing to chant with protesters, even after he was taken into custody with his hands bound in zip ties. Now, were these zip ties that taxpayers paid for, or were these zip ties that you took from the domestic terrorist insurrectionists on January 6th? Because some of them had zip ties. Were these zip ties you took from them, or were these zip ties paid for by taxpayer dollars? We know they weren't paid for by Jeff Bezos from Amazon because he don't pay taxes. Isn't it interesting how Jeff Bezos can fly to outer space, but he's clueless on this topic right here? I haven't heard Jeff Bezos could put pressure on these Republicans. He's pretty much silent. I guess he's busy trying to fly to outer space or something. You know, maybe wants to set up a colony of Amazon on the moon. Gil Scott, some people ask me, what do you think about Jeff Bezos going to outer space, what have you? I posted how I felt on my Twitter page. It's a poem from Gil Scott Heron about white people on the moon. Go check that out. It's at the African History Network. Okay. People say, what do you think about him and the other billionaire going to outer space, going to outer space? Okay, Gil Scott Heron called this decades ago. Now, Tia Mitchell, a reporter with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, who was on the scene, posted a video on Twitter showing Representative Hank Johnson and other protesters with their arms linked, blocking a doorway. We're going to continue this on the other side of the break. You're listening to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Black on Purpose Television Network. Yes, Black on Purpose Television Network. All black, all positive, all the time. The largest black-owned streaming television network in the world. Bringing our people together worldwide. Controlling our messages, our stories, our way. Black TV the way it should be. Black music, Black history, and more. 30 plus channels, thousands of shows. Black on Purpose Television Network. Subscribe now.
Hi, I'm Joel Wilson, President and CEO of JCW Computer Consulting LLC, a technology implementation firm with over 20 years of satisfying customers. We offer a full spectrum of industry top-tier branded services. We are an authorized partner or reseller for Lenovo, Zoom, T-Mobile, Microsoft 365 and Surface tablets, Google Workspace, Acer, Asus, Samsung, PCmatic security software, and many more. Our online store features laptops, Chromebooks, computers, printers, accessories, and software. Businesses, take advantage of our free 1-hour Zoom tech consultation and know we offer top nationwide high-speed internet service providers, voice over IP, and cellular phone services. Home users, don't miss our current in-stock Chromebook inventory. Please visit us at jcwcc.com or call 215-879-6701.
910, the Superstation, Detroit's only African-American talk radio.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Thursday, July 22nd, 2021, and we're live. Calling number is 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. Right before the break, we were talking about the voting rights protest that took place today at the Hart Senate building in Washington, D.C., at the U.S. Capitol. Representative Hank Johnson, member of the Congressional Black Caucus from Georgia, from the state of Georgia, was arrested along with two other African-American activists, male activists, Rashad Robinson of Color of Change, as well as Cliff Albright of Black Voters Matter. Now, Cliff Albright was on Roland Martin Unfiltered today. He was also on, I think it was The Last Word on MSNBC. Ali Velshi was sitting there for Lawrence O'Donnell on The Last Word also. And they were talking about what's taking place and what needs to happen as well, and pressure that has to continue to be put on the White House and the Senate regarding the filibuster and pushing the For the People Act. Okay, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. Also, if you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App. Then also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. This is our official Cash App account here, $ the AHN Show, SHOW. And it shows my name there, Michael, and shows my picture as well. We're here 6 days a week, so this helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, pay some of the bills, etc. All right, now I want to go back to this article here from the New York Times, and then we're going to go and look at Representative Hank Johnson's Twitter page, because he posted on his Twitter page also. Now, Tia Mitchell, a reporter with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, who was on the scene, posted a video on Twitter showing Representative Hank Johnson and other protesters with their arms linked, blocking a doorway. They were warned by the U.S. Capitol Police that they could be arrested for demonstrating without a permit, according to Tia Mitchell. Now, last Thursday, we know Representative Joyce Beatty, Democrat of Ohio, member of the Congressional Black Caucus, was among 9 people arrested in the atrium of a Senate office building while demonstrating in favor of 2 voting rights bills in Congress, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the For the People Act. Both measures aim to protect and expand access to voting, but face long odds of becoming law because Democrats who have a narrow majority in the Senate, it's a 50-50 majority in the Senate, with Vice President Kamala Harris being the tie-breaking vote. But most bills you need 60 votes on. Most bills you need 60 votes unless it's through the budget reconciliation process, or unless you can break the filibuster. You can change the rules to the filibuster, where you just need a simple majority of 51 votes to proceed or get bills passed. Now, Democrats have a narrow majority in the Senate. They need Republican votes to overcome a filibuster. They need 10 Republicans to vote on a bill to break the filibuster. Most of these bills Republicans are not voting on. Most of these bills Republicans are not going to support. Now, for months, Democrats have expressed frustration over their inability to advance their expansive voting overhauls as Republican state legislatures rush to pass laws that restrict voting rights across the country. So we have 389 bills that are being pushed in 48 state legislatures. So far, we have 30 bills that have passed in 18 states that are being pushed by Republicans. 30 bills have passed in 18 states. Voter restriction bills being pushed by Republicans. And that's the latest reporting from the Brennan Center for Justice that is tracking this. President Joe Biden, we know he did a town hall with Don Lemon on CNN yesterday on Wednesday, July 21st. President Joe Biden last week called the fight against restrictive voting laws the, quote, most significant test of our democracy since the Civil War. Even as he seemed to acknowledge the legislation had little hope of passing. At a televised town hall on Wednesday in Cincinnati on CNN, President Biden defended keeping the filibuster, saying that getting rid of it would, quote, throw the entire Congress into chaos and nothing will get done. Now, as news and images of the arrest spread across social media, some noted the contrast between the treatment of the members of Congress who are African American and the hundreds of domestic terrorists, insurrectionists, rioters that trespassed at the Capitol on January 6th who were not detained. See, we talked about this last week, and I talked about asked this question Friday on Roland Martin Unfiltered. How is it the sisters got arrested and they weren't armed? Representative Joyce Beatty, okay? This sister looks like a grandmother, all right, or great grandmother, depending upon, because nowadays, I'm 50, so to me, what a grandmother is now is different than what it was like when I was 25. But that's a whole nother story. But this sister and 9 other sisters got arrested. They weren't armed. They weren't yelling, "Hang Mike Pence." They weren't threatening anybody. They weren't stealing mail. They weren't damaging property, anything like that. Okay, and they got arrested. The domestic terrorists on January 6th. Some of them were armed. Some of them were beating up police. Okay. Some of them had guns. Some of them beating police with flagpoles. Most of them didn't even get arrested. Now they got arrested later. We know it was at least 500 of them got arrested and they're being prosecuted. They got arrested later, but it's like, wait a second. And then today, these brothers got arrested. Okay. They weren't threatening anybody. Okay. They weren't threatening anybody, and they get arrested. So people are asking the question, well, wait a second. Wait a second. How is it that the domestic terrorist insurrectionists who are trying to overthrow the government didn't get arrested? And these people who are trying to preserve the democracy and fight for what the Constitution says is already ours, how is it they get arrested? And he's a member of Congress, and so is Representative Joyce Beatty. Now, one of the things that I'm going to talk about on Roland Martin Unfiltered tomorrow is that notice how quiet a lot of celebrities are. Notice how quiet a lot of celebrities are who were very vocal in the summer of 2020 during the protest with George Floyd. Notice how quiet they are. I guarantee you. Now, also, if you go back to 2015 and 2016, when we were dealing with the transgender bathroom bill, in Indiana and North Carolina, celebrities were much more vocal when it came to transgender people being able to use the bathroom of their choice. Now, with this voting rights issue that impacts more than just African Americans, this ain't just a black thing, even though it's associated with the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and people think this is just a black thing. No, it's not. This goes way beyond just affecting African Americans. Notice how quiet celebrities are. I guarantee you, if this was an LGBTQ issue, they would all be involved in protests and doing commercials and on TV shows talking about it and things like this. I guarantee you that. If this was something dealing with gay marriage or something, if this was something dealing with transgender people being able to use the bathroom of their choice or something like that, I guarantee you, celebrities, you can shut them up from talking about it. Notice how silent many of them are. let's go back to this article here from the New York Times, and we're going to look at Representative Hank Johnson's Twitter page. So people are asking the question, the disparate treatment when it comes to African American members of Congress and domestic terrorists who tried to overthrow the government January 6th. Now, in an interview with Elle magazine about her arrest, Representative Joyce Beatty, Democrat of Ohio, chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, pointed out the same discrepancy. She said, quote, at the January 6th insurrection, where the domestic terrorist was sent there by the traitor-in-chief, Benedict Donald, the first president of the United States. That's me saying that's not her, but it is true what I'm saying. Donald Trump is the first Russian president of the United States. Wait till all the information comes out and you see the coordination between he and Vladimir Putin. Wait till all the information comes out. At the January 6th insurrection, she said, you had thousands of people damaging federal property, rushing and breaking down doors. She said people were dying. There was nothing peaceful about it. And look what happened. That day, there were no arrests, no handcuffs, no paddy wagons. So we have this here. I have this article here from New York Times. And like I said before, we know there were orders from higher ups for the Capitol Police to stand down. There were orders for them not to engage with the protesters, for them not to have riot gear like they should have had, things like this. We know that. Now, who was it coming from higher up? This is people in the Trump administration. We know this, but just looking at the disparity in the reactions. Now, let me say this. At the same time, I haven't seen any reports either last week or today of any people who are arrested being abused. Let me just say that. But you have to ask the question, wait a second, why are they being arrested? I understand they don't have a permit. Okay, all right. But damn, come on. This is what you're going to do? You're going to arrest them? They're peacefully protesting? And you have members of Congress also? All right. And these weren't members of Congress who incited the insurrection January 6th either, just so people understand. These weren't some of those Republicans like Paul Gosar and Louis Gohmert of Texas, okay, or Senator Ted Cruz or Senator Josh Hawley. These weren't some of those people. Now, if we look at the article here from CNN also, let's flip over to the one from CNN. Calling numbers 313-778-7600. If you have a quick question or comment, 313-778-7600. We look at this piece here from CNN. Representative Hank Johnson arrested at voting rights protests. All right. I want to go. Let me see here. I made notes on this one. Okay. So Rashad Robinson of colorchange.org, Color Change, and also Cliff Albright of Black Voters Matter. They were also arrested. Let me see here. I made notations here because I printed this up from CNN. Let me look at my notes. So today, Congressman Hank Johnson, a statement for Hank Johnson's office to CNN said today, Congressman Hank Johnson was arrested along with a group of black male voting rights activists protesting against Senate inaction on voting rights legislation and filibuster reform. Senate inaction on voting rights legislation and filibuster reform. Now, they were arrested. Representative Hank Johnson was one of 10 people whom Capitol Police arrested for unlawfully demonstrating outside of the Hart Senate office building, and they were charged with crowding, obstructive, and incommoding. Okay, I think they're referring to not moving. Now, the protest, the statement said, was also in response to restrictive voting laws across the country, quote, that target students, the elderly, and people of color. students, the elderly, and people of color. This is extremely important because, as I've been saying the past 2 weeks, we have to expand the conversation beyond just African Americans. If this just remains a black thing, we're going to lose. You have 38 million disabled Americans who are registered to vote. 38 million disabled Americans who are registered to vote. When you have something, voter restriction bills like this negatively impacts them. You have college students, regardless of race. You have college students who are going to be negatively impacted because when they're reducing the number of polling places on college campuses, drop boxes on college campuses, things like this impacts college students who overwhelmingly vote Democratic and don't vote for Republicans in general. Overwhelmingly, Republicans know this. This is why they want to attack them. This negatively impacts the elderly, who many of them vote through mail-in ballots. Okay, through mail-in ballots because they can't stand in line for long periods of time and things like this. This negatively impacts Latinos, Asian Americans, Native Americans, the LGBTQ community as well. Now, the question I have to ask, where are the white feminists? Where are the white feminists? Notice how quiet the white feminists have been. Now, they were just vocal 2 weeks ago when Bill Cosby got out of prison. Now, all of a sudden, they have laryngitis because many of the white feminists vote for Democrats. They're going to be negatively impacted by these laws also. Why are the white feminists so quiet? You were yelling at the top of your lungs a couple of weeks ago when Bill Cosby got out of prison. Now, all of a sudden, you have laryngitis. Why is Me Too so silent? I'm just asking questions. These voter restriction bills don't just negatively impact African Americans. Why is Me Too so quiet? Why are progressives and white progressives so quiet? Many of them. Now we know you have some like with the New Georgia Project and things like this who are involved, but overwhelmingly, all these other groups that are negatively impacted by these voter restriction bills are silent. And see, what I'm saying is that we have to expand the conversation beyond just African Americans and show how all these other groups are negatively impacted. And see, one of the problems is that when we keep talking about the 1965 Voting Rights Act, people just automatically associate the 1965 Voting Rights Act with African Americans. Dr. King, John Lewis, Selma, Edmund Pettus Bridge, okay, Hosea Williams, things like this. And it frames the conversation just like immigration reform gets automatically associated with the Latino community, but that impacts everybody also. So one of the things that has to happen is that this has to be made a constitutional issue. This is an issue that impacts the 15th Amendment, the 19th Amendment, and the 25th Amendment to the U.S. The 26th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. The 15th Amendment, February 3rd, 1870, guaranteed the right to vote for African American men. Okay, during Reconstruction, 1870. The 19th Amendment of 1920 guaranteed the right to vote for white women. Then 65 Voting Rights Act, it expanded it to include African American women. Now up north, African American women could vote, of course, but in the South, you still had these Jim Crow laws. So you had the 19th Amendment of 1920. That's a constitutional issue. That's an amendment to the Constitution. But then you had the 26th Amendment of 1971. The 26th Amendment lowered the minimum voting age from 21 to 18, and that was 1971 under President Nixon. So this is a constitutional issue. 15th Amendment, 19th Amendment, and 26th Amendment. So we have to expand the conversation of who is negatively impacted by this, because there has to be a massive uprising all across the country, just like back a few years ago when Republicans were trying to take away the Affordable Health Care Act. and there was a vote in the Senate, and John McCain saved the Affordable Health Care Act. It was his vote that blocked the removal of the Affordable Health Care Act, the gutting of it in the Senate. Well, prior to that, there were massive protests all across the country. And many people were organizing based upon the document called Indivisible. Indivisible website, indivisibleguide.com. Many people were organizing based upon this document called Indivisible. And one of the things that happened is that a lot of white people found out that the Affordable Health Care Act and Obamacare were the same thing. See, a lot of white people found out that the Affordable Health Care Act and Obamacare were the same thing. And many of them prior to that were saying, you can take away Obamacare, just don't take away my Affordable Health Care Act, because they had the Affordable Health Care Act and it was saving their lives. Okay. There was a study done in ABC News, has an article about this. So y'all think I'm playing. No, this is how stupid people were. Because see, one of the things that Republicans did was they branded it as Obamacare, that term was poll tested. Okay. That term was poll tested to be negative. Two, in a lot of Republican states, they call the Affordable Health Care Act something else. Like in Kentucky, it's called Kentucky Connect. Okay. And there were, so people had the Affordable Health Care Act, but in certain states it was called something else. So they were saying, well, you can take away Obamacare, just don't take away my Affordable Health Care Act, just don't take away my Kentucky Connect. This is the game. This is the game that's being ran on these stupid ass people. What was that? There was a piece dealing with how, let me see if I can find this here. One is something like 1 in 3 Americans. 1 in 3 Americans did not know the Affordable Health Care Act and Obamacare were the same thing. Let me see if I can find this here. Hold on. I want to find this here. Okay. I sent you, we're going to go to clip 1 here, Shakita, in just a second. I'm going to try to pull this up while we go to this next clip here. Let me see here. Okay, this is one from CNN. This is one. Yeah, it was in New York Times. That's what it is. February 7th, 2017. February 7th, 2017. This is a month after the trader-in-chief was sworn into office. Okay, New York Times. Let me pull this up here. See, this is the type of game that's being ran on people. This is what happens when you're ignorant and don't understand politics and don't read. Okay, this is what happens. Okay, and they run this type of game on the snuff dippers and the people that drink corn liquor. This is the type of game they run on them. This is the same game that was ran on them during the Civil War, when poor white men were convinced to go fight in the Civil War, while wealthy white men that owned slaves in the South stayed home. This is the same game that was ran on them back then. And they said that the slaves were freed, slaves going to take your jobs. Okay. Well, slaves were already doing your jobs, and largely they were doing it for free, because there were at least 262 skills, trades, and crafts that slaves had in this country from 1619 to 1865. So one, they were already doing your job and doing it for free. Two, you going to risk your life for something that you don't have, while wealthy white men, many of them are staying at home, and you go, many wealthy white men in the Confederacy didn't fight in the war. Some of them did, like General Robert E. Lee. But the majority of the people that fought on behalf of the South were poor white people, poor white men. It wasn't the wealthy ones going and fighting, generally speaking. Let's look at this one here. New York Times, February 7th, 2017. 1/3 don't know Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act are the same thing. 1/3 don't know Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act are the same. A sizable minority of Americans don't understand that Obamacare is just another name for the Affordable Care Act. Now, this is from February 2017. But if they were that dumb back then, you know it's something they're stupid about today. Okay, let's just be honest. This finding from a poll by Morning Consult illustrates the extent of public confusion over a health law that Donald Trump and Republicans in Congress hope to repeal. In the survey, 35% of respondents said they either thought Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act were different policies, that was 17%, or they didn't know if they were the same or different, 18%, for a total of 35%. Just clueless. Now, they probably, this 35% is probably part of the 60% of Americans that were surveyed in like 2019. And 60% of Americans couldn't name the 3 branches of government. And 1 to 5 Americans couldn't name 1 branch of government. They were probably part of that group. They probably watch Fox News all day also, most of them. Now, this confusion was more pronounced among people 18 to 29 and those who earn less than $50,000 a year, 2 groups that could significantly be affected by repeal of the Affordable Health Care Act. Among Republicans, a higher percentage, 72%, said they knew Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act were the same. 72% of Republicans said they knew Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act were the same, which may reflect the party's longstanding hostility to the law. When respondents were asked what would happen if Obamacare were repealed, even more people were stumped. Approximately 45% did not know that the Affordable Care Act would be repealed. 12% of Americans said the Affordable Care Act would not be repealed, and 32% said they didn't know. Read this. This is from 2017. New York Times. 1/3 don't know about the Affordable Care Act are the same. Okay, so check this out. Now, let's look quickly here at Representative Hank Johnson's Twitter account. Representative Hank Johnson at Black Caucus. I was arrested today. Let's see. I was arrested today protesting against Senate inaction on voting rights legislation and filibuster reform. In the spirit of my dear friend and mentor, the late Congressman John Lewis, I was getting in good trouble. Okay. And okay, so you can check out Representative Hank Johnson, Rep Hank Johnson on Twitter, Rep Hank Johnson on Twitter. All right, we're going to shift gears here. I want to go to clip number 1, Shakita. This is dealing with Haiti. This is an update on what's going on in Haiti. New Prime Minister Ariel Henry was sworn in on Tuesday in Haiti. This is reporting from Al Jazeera. Let's go to this clip.
The formal swearing in of Ariel Henry as Haiti's new prime minister is an attempt to end days of uncertainty following the assassination of President Jovenel Moise. Acting Prime Minister Claude Joseph appeared to be in charge following the brazen attack on Moise. He stepped aside to allow Henry to take the reins. The 71-year-old neurosurgeon is calling for unity, but he's facing a long list of social and political issues.
We will create a secure, reliable, and stable environment to facilitate political activities throughout the country. We will expect massive participation in the next presidential election, the highest participation of citizens of voting age.
Henry has appointed his cabinet with the goal of leading Haiti to new elections. That's been problematic previously, leading to Moise ruling by decree that Haiti's future may depend on a free and fair vote.
This government won't think for the people. They're unpopular. They're only thinking for the elite again, at the expense of the Haitian people. We can't expect anything serious from this government.
We say to this new government, welcome, because we, the Haitian people, we want actions from them. We would like the new government to solve the crisis of the country, to solve the problems of slum neighborhoods.
Many Haitians see these as dangerous times, and Henry's international backing is regarded by some as a problem.
Anybody they sort of back or anoint or push is going to be seen with a lot of skepticism by the Haitian people, I think. People are very wary of international community involvement in Haiti at this time. But, of course, they want aid, but they don't want the interference and a meddling.
Memorial services for 53-year-old Jovenel Moise are being held, even as the investigation into his assassination continues. On Tuesday, Haitian authorities made more arrests, including people said to be police officers, but they appear no closer to finding out why he was killed.
The cowardly assassination of the President of the Republic constitutes a real national drama. We have a duty to consider it as such, including those in hiding and in any counter-conflict.
While the international community is pushing this impoverished nation to hold elections, others say voting won't solve Haiti's problems. Many key institutions have failed. Gangs control large parts of Port-au-Prince, and the economy lays in ruins. The stakes for Haiti couldn't be higher. Andy Gallagher, Al Jazeera.
Okay, that is reporting from Al Jazeera from Tuesday, July 20th, 2021. Check out this article here that's on their YouTube channel, Al Jazeera on YouTube. Check out this article here from Al Jazeera. Amid political crisis, Haiti appoints new prime minister. Okay. Ariel Henry's swearing in on Tuesday comes amid official commemorations for slain President Jovenel Moise. This is from Tuesday, July 20th. 2021. And then also look at the reporting here from the Associated Press. The Associated Press, Haiti installs new leader as country mourns slain president. This is from July 20th also. Okay. All right. Hey, if you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHNShow through Cash App, $ the AHNShow through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me /the AHNShow. How you doing, Michael Leonard? How you doing, Frat? Appreciate that. Now, just so you all know, when you do it through YouTube, we only get a third of the payment, 1, and 2, YouTube only pays out once a month. So if you can only do it through YouTube, we understand and appreciate that. But if you can do it through Cash App or PayPal, we get it right away. Okay. Through Cash App is $ the AHNShow through Cash App, $ the AHNShow through Cash App. This is our official Cash App account. These other ones here are fake African History Network Cash App accounts. Ours is $ the AHNShow, SHOW. And it shows my name there, Michael, and shows my picture. Also, you can do it through PayPal, paypal.me / the AHNShow. We have the information at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. And be sure to register for my new 10-week online course that starts up. This one here starts up Saturday, July 24th. This is from the civil rights from the Civil War to civil rights, 1865 to 1968. Okay. And we have the information right on the homepage of our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. And when you click on register here, it takes you to the next page. Click on enroll. As soon as you register, you can start. We have archive content you can start watching, and you'll be enrolled in class. And class is going to be Saturdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Saturdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. And each class will go through and analyze a 10-year period of history. Okay. To understand, and we'll start in 1865, 40 Acres and a Mule, end of the Civil War, Reconstruction, to understand how we got to where we are today. Those watching on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, and my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, keep watching. We're going to keep broadcasting for a few more minutes. I'm going to share this segment that we did with Dr. Cornel West on Roland Martin Unfiltered. We'll be back tomorrow. I'll be on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday. Remember, right now it's correct, strong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace. Cue this up. How's everybody doing? Let's go. Let me cue this up here with Dr. Cornel West. All right. Everybody stand by. Share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in also. And then the other online course that we have going on right now is Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Okay, so that is when you go to our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa. That is underneath the information for from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. That class is on Sundays, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. And this is a 10-week online course. Also, we do the class live. All the sessions are recorded. Click right here for register here. It takes you to the next page. You can register for that one as well. So the new one, dealing with from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement, that one picks up where this course leaves off. Okay. And this one here, we deal with thousands of years of history and what led up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place also. All right. So just a minute here. Let me, I want to cue this clip up here. We had an interesting conversation with Dr. Cornel West, who helped clear up some concerns that I had, because I remember reading about conflicts between, that conflicts that Cornel West and Dr. Henry Louis Gates Jr. had with African-centered scholars like Dr. Joseph Ben Yakinen and Dr. John Henrik Clarke in the late 80s, early 1990s, as well as Dr. Michael Eric Dyson. Because Dr. Michael Eric Dyson was critical of the African-centered scholars as well. I never heard him apologize for it either, by the way. Okay, let's go to this clip here. Okay, so at this point right here, he's responding to Faraji Muhammad. And we were talking about Dr. Greg Carr, who's the chair of the Afro-American Studies Department at Howard University. And Dr. Greg Carr is a panelist from Roland Martin Unfiltered on Thursdays. Okay, so let's go back to this. Let's go to this clip here.
That brother, like my dear brother Carr, Greg Carr, he's got the wonderful Afrocentric network. I was just part of that recently with Sister Karen Hunter, and both of them superb. And I'm sure you talk to Brother Carr, Professor Carr, distinguished professor. He's got his critique of Howard. Even though he's there at Howard, he loves black people in the same way others at Howard love black people. But there's a conversation, a dialogue, and a debate that takes place within black institutions as well. And we've got to learn from them.
Michael Imhotep, your question.
Dr. Cornel West, this is Michael Imhotep from the African History Network show. How you doing?
Right. How you doing, my brother? Good to see you. Man.
All right. You just mentioned mutual friend, Dr. Greg Carr. So let me ask you this question. Dr. Greg Carr, since you mentioned Afrocentrism and Afrocentric, if we go back to the early 1990s, there was a critique from Dr. Henry Louis Gates Jr. as well as you regarding Dr. Joseph Ben Yakinen and Dr. John Henrik Clarke. And they talked about this in Emerge magazine, the one with one of my teachers, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, on the cover. But there was a critique referring to them, I may not get the words exactly right, but as demagogues and pseudo-scholars, something to that effect. And I know you went on later to have a friendly debate with Dr. John Henrik Clarke as well after the NAACP summit around 1993. What was the critique in the early 1990s dealing with Afrocentrism, and do you still have that same critique today, or has it maybe evolved, or maybe you made some amends, or what have you?
Right. No, I appreciate that question, though, brother. It's a very important question. Well, one is that You know, I said before that me and Brother Skip Gates are brothers and friends, but we don't speak the same language. See, I sat at the feet of John Henrik Clarke when he was head of Black Studies and Puerto Rican Studies at Hunter College every month for almost 4 years. As you know, the debate that we had at Ohio State, where Brother Carr was the mediator, he was the MC. I would never in a million years call the great John Henrik Clarke a pseudo scholar. See, that's not my language. I would never in a million years call him a demagogue. That's not my language. I disagree because he's a black nationalist, he's a Pan Africanist. I'm not a nationalist of any sort. I have great connections with black nationalists, but I'm not a nationalist of any sort. And therefore, I'm critical of any kind of talk of nation formation that doesn't talk about class and empire and patriarchy and homophobia and a lot of other things. But that doesn't mean that they're not my comrade. So that I'm glad I get a chance to clarify this, my brother. John Henrik Clarke is one of the great geniuses and giants of the 20th century intellectually, politically, as Pan-Africanist, going all the way back to his Sunday school in Georgia, his formation, all the way back to his magnificent plays and writings and work with Malcolm X and so on. So the critique of Afrocentrism at that time, my brother, was, especially with Brother Leonard Jeffrey. You know, Leonard Jeffries and I are brothers, that we've had public debates on and on and on. And his lovely wife, right there in New Jersey.
Right, Dr. Rosalind.
That the debate, that the issue had to do was, what was the role of Jews in the slave trade? And that was the issue that got Brother Leonard in such deep trouble, because he made the claim that, one, you must keep track of the role of Jews in the slave trade. He's right about that. Jews did play a role in the slave trade. The Lopez family in Rhode Island, for example. But then the question became, what was the scope and the breadth of it? What was the scope and the breadth of it? And there we had serious dialogue. And I was right there with Brother Leonard, arguing, telling him, yes, the role was there, but it was not as extensive as he thought. But people who said even to talk about Jews in the slave trade meant you were anti-Semitic, you were anti-Jewish. You say, no, that's just a way of not allowing black folk to be free enough to be critical of vicious Israeli occupation, not to be free enough to be in solidarity with Palestinian suffering. That's a moral and a spiritual issue again, you see? So we can't allow any of the critics to dampen our fire and not allow us to be free enough to think for ourselves. Now, Brother Leonard, Professor Jeffries was thinking for himself. We just happened to disagree. So we had public conversations about it. John Henrik Clarke came in to mediate, because John Henrik Clarke, no more than both of us put together in terms of historical knowledge of the slave trade and the Arab trade, the Arab slave trade that he would lay out so well and so on. So in that sense, I do want to make a distinction between Brother Skip and myself. Now, Brother Ben, it is a different situation there. Because there, I think it was Brother Skip who was using the language about Brother Ben. I've known Brother Ben since 1970. He used to come to my classes when I was with Union Seminary with James Cone and the others. And we, again, had major intense debates. And people said, well, you know, he didn't have a huge university position there. No, he may not have been teaching at a college, but a college went through him. And so you take seriously what he has to say. And we had disagreements and our agreements in that sense. But I think the point you said that I'm trying to make here is that I don't believe in using the language of pseudo-scholars to great intellectual figures like a John Hope Franklin. I mean, like a John Henrik Clarke. John Henrik Clarke, who's like John Hope Franklin. Both of them giant.
Exactly. All right. Thank you for that.
Dr. West, you talked about
So, couple things here. So one, I'm glad I asked that question, because I was hesitant about asking that question because I wasn't sure how I was going to go over. Because there was intense debate back in the late 80s, early 1990s. And there were attacks. First of all, he talked about Dr. Leonard Jeffries. And Dr. Jeffries was coming under attack, and he was getting death threats in the early 1990s. And he had to wear a bulletproof vest for 5 years, even in his classroom. Dr. Jeffries is one of my teachers. So he told me about it personally. I read accounts about it, but he told me about it personally. And then Dr. Jeffries was talking about the role the involvement of Jews in the transatlantic slave trade, and there was some involvement. Now, involvement varies depending upon which period of time you're talking about also. But Dr. J came under intense attack in the early 1990s. The debate that took place between Dr. John Henrik Clarke and Dr. Cornel West was right around 1993, 94. That debate that took place was dealing with Pan Africanism versus integration. Pan Africanism versus integration. And Dr. John Henrik Clarke was a Pan Africanist, and Dr. Cornel West is not. I guess she would call himself an integrationist or something like that. So you have that conversation there. Then he mentioned, and he talked about Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen as well, Dr. Ben, the great Egyptologist, Dr. Ben. But in the early 1990s, so there were two. Dr. Linda Jeffries was on the cover of Emerge magazine twice in the early 1990s. Emerge magazine was published by George Curry. George Curry, African-American journalist, just passed away a few years ago. Okay. And I'm trying to see, I had the cover of Emerge. Number one, I had a subscription to Emerge magazine, but two, one of the covers with Dr. Linda Jeffries on it from Emerge, I had a picture of that cover, and I don't know if I still have it. I got to look and see. I just thought about that. I have to look and see. Still have that. Okay. It may be on another flash drive or something. I have to find it. But anyway, let's see here. I'll have to see if I can find it. But anyway, you had attacks from what some people may term as integrationist scholars or college professors at white institutions, largely attacking the African-centered scholars. Okay. So this was taking place in the early 1990s. And Dr. Michael Eric Dyson was attacking some of the African-centered scholars for their claims about melanin and things like this. Now, I never heard him apologize. Maybe he has a different opinion today. I don't know. But this is what was taking place in the early 1990s. I want to see. I'm trying to see if I can find this here. I know I have it on some of my other flash drives, but it was in Emerge magazine. Okay. So Google Emerge magazine and see what comes up. But I was hesitant to ask the question because I wasn't sure how Dr. Cornel West was going to respond. I wasn't sure if it was a sensitive issue or what have you. So I'm glad I asked the question because he shed some light on the subject that I did not know. So, I'm really glad I asked the question, and that helped to clear up some confusion. I have seen the debate that took place between he and Dr. John Henrik Clarke. Also, that debate was precipitated by a disagreement in about 1993 at the NAACP Leadership Summit, which was convened by Dr. Ben Chavis when Dr. Ben Chavis was president of the NAACP National Chapter. And what happened was, for those that don't remember, and I was in college when this took place, what happened was, and I don't know if that is I don't know if that is on YouTube anywhere. Okay, but if it is, it was excellent. It was a leadership summit that convened African-American leaders from different sectors of the African-American community, civil rights community, Black power, Afrocentrism, things like this. And Dr. John Henrik Clarke was on the panel, along with Dr. Cornel West. And I don't remember a whole lot of other people. They had sent people from the NAACP and on the board. I think Jesse Jackson was on the panel also. But what happened was Dr. John Henrik Clarke was doing an analysis of history. Yeah, Jesse Jackson was on the panel because Jesse Jackson disagreed with something that Dr. John Henrik Clarke said. And Dr. Clarke was correct in his analysis. Dr. Clarke was 100% correct in his analysis. And Jesse Jackson disagreed with something that Dr. Clarke said. But Dr. Clarke talked about the last 500 years of history and Christopher Columbus. And he talked about the most important thing that the European colonized was the image of God. He talked about the European colonized history and the image of God and all the different things like this, right? So then Dr. Cornel West responded that Dr. Clarke went to meddling with his Jesus when Dr. Clarke talked about the colonization of the image of God into from an African Jesus to a white Jesus, or an African image of God to a white image of God. So then Dr. Cornel West starts talking about he went to meddling with my Jesus, and black people wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the black church and different things like this, right? So then some months after that, then they have their debate dealing with at the college, dealing with Pan Africanism versus integration. And that was moderated by Dr. Greg Carr. Okay, this is like 93, 94. Okay, I'm going to post a link here to that full episode of Roland Martin Unfiltered. That was from Friday, July 16th. Well, this is the segment here with Dr. Cornel West. This is the link that I have. If you go to Roland's YouTube channel, Roland Martin on YouTube or Roland Martin on Facebook, you can find the full show from July 16th. This is the segment with Dr. Cornel West that I just posted. All right. Okay, look, hey, we have to get out of here. Be sure to register for my new 10-week online course, from the Civil War to civil rights and Black power. This is a 10-week online course. Each Saturday will break down a 10-year period of time of history starting in 1865 with 40 Acres and the Mule, Special Field Order number 15, and the end of the Civil War and Juneteenth and the 13th Amendment. All that is in 1865. And we'll go through Reconstruction. We'll go through the Jim Crow era, Plessy versus Ferguson, 1896, Mississippi State Convention, 1890, Louisiana State Constitution, 1898, Grandfather Clause, 1898. And we'll see how the compromise of 1877 ends Reconstruction. Gains that we were making are being reversed. Laws are being put in place to lock us into a low-level existence in this society, sharecropping, black codes, all different types of things like this. We'll look at World War I, 1914 to 1918. We'll look at the Great Migration, 1915 to 1970, Civil Rights Movement, 1955 to 1970. Civil Rights Movement gives way to the Black Power Movement. Black Power Movement is coming out of SNCC in 1966. And then we see the formation of the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, October 1966. So it's a fantastic online course. I do a PowerPoint presentation. We have book references, articles, video clips, etc. We do the class live. All the sessions are recorded. We do the class live. All the sessions are recorded. So you can go back and watch it over and over again. You even have access to the class even after the class is over with. Okay. And you can share this information with your children as well. This, I would say, is PG-13. You can share this information with your children also. All right. So visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We have the information right on the homepage. Scroll down. You'll see it there. Click on register here. It'll take you to the next page. And then just click on enroll. Okay. And as soon as you register, you can start watching the content. Okay. We have archive content, classes 1, 2, and 3 of ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa. Understanding the transatlantic slave trade is some archive content that you get as a bonus. So you can start watching that and you'll be ready for class Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can watch from around the world. All right. We have to get out of here. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Because right now it's corrects wrong behaviors. Not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.
Black on Purpose Television Network. Yes, Black on Purpose Television Network. All black, all positive, all the time. The largest black-owned streaming television network in the world. Bringing our people together worldwide. Controlling our messages, our story, our way. Black TV the way it should be. Black music, Black history, and more. 30 plus channels, thousands of shows. Black on Purpose Television Network. Subscribe now.
Gain knowledge in minutes from insightful summaries of progressive and socially conscious books. Blacklisted gives you access to curated content that'll satisfy your curiosity to learn and understand different perspectives. Empower yourself through inspirational and actionable ideas. It's easy to read or listen to on the go. Blacklisted. Empower yourself. Start your free trial today.
We all know the cannabis industry is headed toward an uprise in the past decade. What happens when there is a brand that brings this uprise in a blow? The cannabis industry welcomes her uprise. Hustle her hemp. Delivering excellence with pride is her watchword, and how you choose to embrace it makes it a priority. From cultivating rich cannabis into exquisite and tastefully finished CBD products to delivery, Hustle Her Hemp leaves no stone unturned. Hustle Her Hemp's mission is to empower women of color by building business and creating legacies, uniting beauty, health, and business. We are a pure definition of how we want the CBD industry to become in the future. While we are redefining innovation, we bring the same energy to improving the quality of life. Hustle Her Hemp is the new uprise.
For 25 years, the Black History 101 Mobile Museum has carried on the rich legacy of the Black Museum movement in America by showcasing original artifacts of the Black experience at colleges, universities, K-12 schools, corporations, libraries, conferences, and cultural events, making it the most traversed Black History mobile exhibit in American history. Dr. Khalid El-Hakim is the founder of the Black History 101 Mobile Museum, and he is a highly sought-after public speaker on topics of Black history, social studies, education, museum studies, hip-hop, and race relations. Dr. Khalid was named among the change makers for NBC Universal's Erase the Hate campaign and listed as one of the 100 men of distinction for Black enterprise. He recently founded the Michigan Hip Hop Archive on the campus of Western Michigan University. The Black History 101 Mobile Museum is currently scheduling in-person and virtual exhibits nationwide. For more information, please contact Dr. Khalid El-Hakim directly at 313-645-4197, 313-645-4197, or visit their website at blackhistorymobilemuseum.com. That's blackhistorymobilemuseum.com. You can also email him at bhistory101@yahoo.com, bhistory101@yahoo.com. Digital Dandelion's Technical Solutions works with businesses like yours to create an operations manual for your business, which is something many businesses don't have. According to AARP, more than 30% of small business owners are over 50 years old. Many business owners want to retire by selling their businesses or by passing their businesses on to their children. However, according to Forbes Investment Advisors, many retiring owners' attempts to sell their businesses for retirement fail. You cannot sell your business without a business manual. Your children also cannot inherit your business because there is no way to run it. Your business does not have to die when you leave. Their business Bible products will give you the tools you need for a thriving business that can make you money even after you retire. Are you looking at increasing your business's annual revenue? Digital Dandelions can help you make at least $100,000 in annual revenue and expand your business. Speak with them today about solidifying your business. Visit digitaldandelions.com today and get a free